Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is Wednesday, November 20th. This is a week before Thanksgiving holiday here in the US of A. Episode number 180. 180 of
Wait.
Material Issues. Holy cow. I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records. I'm over here in balmy South Jersey, just outside of Philadelphia, just below New York City. We're having a beautiful day, but joining me now back in Southern California, and unfortunately we use the word back because that's been giving him the troubles because he should be en route to Toronto with IPO. But Mr. David Bash, the president of the International Pop Overthrow Festival, how you doing, my friend? How you feeling today?
Well, I mean, not as bad as I did.
Lisa
Hey,
checking in.
Lisa.
How you doing, Lisa?
Good to see you. Sorry we missed you when we drove through Virginia. We had 3 IPOs scheduled for the fall: Boston, New York, and Toronto. I wasn't able to go to Boston because the back issues were really bad at that time. And I didn't want to go and be a burden on anybody. So for New York, though, Rena, my wife, had already scheduled that she was coming with. The original plan was she would have met me there, but instead we flew out together and did IPO New York. And it was tough for me to walk. When I walk, my legs get numb. And there's pain. But we did it, and she took good care of me. And then we leisurely drove down from New York to North Carolina last week for our niece's wedding, which turned out to be great. In the meantime, the pain was just getting worse and worse. I was able to go to urgent care in North Carolina. I got a shot and a prescription of anti-inflammatory, and things got a little bit better. It enabled me to go through the wedding and everything. But rather than hang out in Carolina a few more days and then fly up to Toronto, which Rena cannot go to, I thought I better go home and get a doctor's appointment, which I have, but not as soon as I would have liked. Anyway, so I'm sitting here now. There's a very, very slim chance that I'll be able to make it to Toronto. But besides, my pain issues, Taylor Swift is playing there this weekend. I know. And she actually played there last weekend too. But she's playing there this weekend, which has skyrocketed the hotel prices and the flight prices. It's insane. People, the Swifties fly from all over the world to wherever she is.
I told you she did text me. She feels terrible about it, so she was going to hook you up with the private plane. And
what happened?
I don't know.
If she hooked me up with a private plane, and I'm sure she has a great back doctor who could give me a shot of anything, I'd be right there. But
you need a shot of rhythm and blues, yeah, man. Well, we're glad you're feeling okay and going to get some help with it, because I know back pain and that's debilitating.
It's kind of a
and we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that our very good friend and co-host every once in a while, Mr. John Borak, who's written a number of things about our guests tonight. He's been hospitalized with some heart issues with atrial fibrillation, which I've dealt with for many years. So John, if you're watching this from the hospital, we wish you the best. And
we wish you the best. And if I have any chance, if I'm in any kind of shape to drive down to Orange County tomorrow and visit you, I will.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
So that's going on. IPO New York did go very well. I am glad I went, but had Rena not been there, I probably wouldn't have gone to that one either. And it really sucks when I have to miss them. And I'm really going to miss Toronto. But, that's the way it goes. I'm 66, not in the best shape in general. So, things like back problems are going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, but we're here today, Yeah. We're on the planet. We're alive.
Last week, I couldn't even join you because
every
night, if I made a sudden movement, the pain would go right down my legs into my, and would just it'd be like an electric shock.
I'm starting to think that I'm the curse because John Borak was guest hosting and he ended up in the hospital too. So I don't know whether
well, I haven't been to
I'm the safe issue or not.
Well, I don't think. Yeah, no, you're certainly not the cause, and we wish John well, and hopefully he'll be back home soon. All right. Well, we do have some special guests today. As I was mentioning to you, in 1979, I used to frequent a club called Maximus in my town of New City, New York. The DJ there was very, very cool. He loved power pop. Thank you,
Lisa.
He really loved power pop and turned me on to a lot of really cool stuff. And this was 1979, so there were things coming out in the power pop world, just one after the other. And one day he played me tracks from an album by this group called 2020, which, first of all, I thought their name was very cool. But then when I heard the songs, things like "Oh Sherry" and "Tell Me Why" and of course "Yellow Pills," as I was wont to do when that happened, if I loved the tracks, I was the next day out to a record store, probably about 30 miles away from where I lived, because I knew they would have it, and ran out and bought it. And, my love affair with that band started right then. And, over the years, I've gotten to know a few of the members of the band, namely our two guests. I met them initially when they played the Poptopia Festival in the mid 90s. And they actually played the first ever IPO festival in Orange County in an outdoor venue where it was about 105 degrees. They may remember that. It was real. It's got to be the hottest temperature they've ever had to play under. It was bizarre. But these guys, they're definitely part of the power pop pantheon, and they're not done, not by a long shot. In fact, they have a new album coming out, and here it is, "Back to California." I imagine.
Nice.
I imagine sort of reminiscing about the time that they left Tulsa to come to California back in the late 70s. This album is coming out on Spider Pop Records and also being marketed by Big Stir Records. They've now partnered on several releases. And this will be coming out in, I believe, January of 2025. The new single, "Back to California," is out now. Anyway, this is a really nice package. And some very cool songs. I wouldn't call this album power pop. I'd say it's a little bit more like Americana, but those vocals, those melodies, power pop fans are going to love them. And we're very, very honored to have the two main men of this band, 2020. So without further ado, would you please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Ron Flynt and Steve Allen.
Hello, gentlemen. Where's my applause button? Fantastic to have you guys here. How you feeling tonight, Steve, Ron? I know, Ron, you're backstage getting ready to perform. Steve, you've got plenty of instruments behind you. You could perform at any moment. So, where are you guys both located right now?
I'm in Nashville.
You're in Nashville?
Yeah, I'm in Austin.
You're in Austin. All right, cool. So you're both down south. Is Nashville Central Time? I guess it is.
Yeah, they both are.
That's what I know. I knew Austin was, but I wasn't sure where Nashville fell on the line. But yeah,
I should point out that I did IPO in Austin for several years, and Ron came to play a couple of those events. And even when he didn't play, he was always so generous in lending us backline gear. And I'll never forget that. I was able to come to his studio, which is very impressive, and hang out and get some gear, which was very, very nice. I mean,
I think that was the last time I got to see you.
Probably last time I was in Austin. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Well, I know David was reminiscing a bit about his first exposure to 2020, and I had said something to Steve early before we were pre-show, but man, it takes me right back to the summer of '79. It was right after my junior year, before I went going into my senior year of high school. So, I mean, I was working restaurant part-time at night. I had a paper route, anything I could do to make money to buy record albums and singles and whatever it may be. And I can recall going into Record Revolution in Reading, Pennsylvania, and I always went from A to Z. I just flipped looking for the coolest things. And 2020 wasn't under the T category. It was in like the right before the A. They had where all things were numbers, whatever, you know, title of bands might have been had a number in it. And that was one of the first things I saw that day. I said, I knew nothing about the band, but the album cover just struck me like, damn, this is, you know. And then I had never heard anything like Yellow Pills before. And Yellow Pills just sent shivers down my spine. And then Sherry took me to another level. And I wore 2 copies of that album out in the next 6 months. Just played it. And it's funny because I came from a very
DJ copy. Darn, I actually have one with a white label promo of the first album.
And I come from a small town too, and they only listened to top 40. And when I try to get people to listen to this band, I was kind of a pariah because, you know, you're over here in South Central Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania Dutch country in a small town, and nobody wants to hear anything except, you know, the flavor of the month at the time. But I thank you for that absolute great memory and thrill, guys. You were part of my high school experience. It's yours. Yeah,
oh, thank you.
Yeah, I have to ask. I mean, 1979, as I mentioned, there was an explosion of power pop. You know, you had bands like Shoes and the Rubinoos, and then Cheap Trick they were honing a power pop sound at that point. And of course, you guys, were you aware of the term power pop back then?
Ron?
Yeah, well, in the sense that Pete Townsend used it to describe I think it was "Kids Are All Right" was the song they were talking about, or at least that's how I remember it. And I remember thinking at the time that maybe it did apply to us, but then after a while, it started being applied to us, and so. Yeah. And I had mixed feelings about it, frankly, one way or the other. Sometimes it almost sounded like a pejorative, but most of the time it didn't, and people embraced it. So, and in a marketing sense, anything that you can do to belong with people, that's a good thing.
Yeah, you know, and I don't really think at the time that I was even I was using that term, so to speak. I just heard all these bands coming out that were just a little different, you know. I had just got off my punk phase, and that was, you know, brash in your face, and I kind of slowly moved out of that with bands like 999, who were kind of punk pop, and you know that they were writing a little more melody and better lyrics, and then it kind of slid into this late 70s thing where you guys appeared, and Bram Tchaikovsky and the Rubinoos and the Shoes, and all of a sudden things got a little bit lighter, a little more melodic. The lyrics started to sound, you know, making sense, and it was just a revelation. So power pop as a term, I don't know that I was that familiar with it at the time, but you know, it kind of evolved.
You know, Greg Shaw resurrected it, and
Greg Shaw.
It's possible that you heard what happened, Steve?
We lost. The
power pop goes. Yeah, I mean, Greg Shaw resurrected the term, and you know, you guys did have a single on Bomb, which I will bet you in at least whatever magazine in which he advertised it called it power pop.
There was I remember before we were signed, there was a Bomb issue where it was the power pop issue. I remember that. And but we didn't really, I think there was so many bands that just had similar influences, but we just thought of ourselves as a rock band. But the term has kind of grown and evolved, I think.
Mm-hmm. And it's certainly not used pejoratively by the people who love that kind of music.
Yes.
And for the ones who don't, well, you know what, when Frank Sinatra used the term rock and roll, he meant it as a total pejorative. So you can't please everybody.
That's the word for today, pejorative.
Yeah. Somebody spell that for me. I'm writing that down right now so I can look it up. I gotta learn it. So you guys were you both born raised in the Tulsa area?
Yeah.
Let's just start off with you, Steve. As a little one, where did music come into your life? Were your parents musical, or how did that kind of awakening or music influences hit you at an early age?
My family was a little bit musical. We had a piano, and my parents could play one song, and it was a song from that they used at funerals. I still, and I can play it for you now, but it was like they played that, but they were always playing music. They had they played records a lot, like Klebanoff and some Sinatra and stuff. So, but I remember, I think whatever year it was when Telstar came out. You remember that record?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Joe
That's,
Meek. What was the band's
Joe Meek.
name though?
The Tornadoes.
Anyway.
Yeah, the Tornadoes.
Tornadoes.
Yeah, Joe. Yeah.
And yeah,
But
it was like completely trebly. Yeah.
It had this, the sci-fi rocket sounds and that melody. That's a great melody. And anyway, I remember as a little kid, like 8 or 9, going, "What the hell is this?" Because it felt like it was speaking to me. Wild Sputnik sounding sci-fi.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of pre Jimi Hendrix, almost. So yeah, music was around, and I started to love it around that time.
Were you taking lessons young in piano, or what instrument started your bug?
Well, I mean, just the cliche was, once I kind of wanted to be a drummer, like the Ventures, and we had one snare that I would hit. But then when the damn Beatles came on in '64 of February, I was like blown away, and I had to wait till I could get my cousin's guitar. He wasn't playing it, and it was this little Silvertone thing, and I got it for my 11th birthday, and then I started taking lessons at the Guitar House, a store in Tulsa, and it turns out my teacher of the group lessons was Eldon Shamblin from the Texas Playboys.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
A famous guitar player.
Yeah.
And then I took private lessons from him, but mainly it was learning to play with records like we all do. And a big one for me was till when I learned maybe I Feel Fine, that lick, or Day Tripper. Like when I actually worked hard to learn it, I'm like, oh, I can do this, So that's kind of where I started. And then Ron and I met in the 6th grade. So take it away, Ron.
Yeah, Ron. What was your beginnings? How about your family and music?
Well, I guess I started playing just kind of dinking and doinking on piano at a really young age. Our family was pretty religious, so we went to church. So there was a lot of gospel Southern Baptist gospel music there.
Yeah.
Then one of the music directors at the church that we went to thought that he heard some sort of sense of harmony in me, and so he arranged for me to go to the University of Tulsa at a very young age for Suzuki training, and I did that. And then, much like Steve, February '64, I remember it vividly. I badgered my parents to the point where they let me stay home from church, instead of going to training union on that Sunday night. Laid on the floor in our den, which actually was the garage before it was the den, and just everything changed. I had probably the worst guitar that anybody had ever owned. Steve used to call it a cheese box because it had
I did
very little. Well, I would remember, you would. It had very little resemblance to a guitar. In fact, when I first got it, I thought that the way you played a melody was you tuned it, because the strings were so far off the frets that it was virtually impossible to play. But I think for a lot of us, after that February date with the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and then the rest of the Beatle invasion, and then the British invasion with all those great songs that would dominate the airwaves, that was it for me. I was pretty much that. Playing music and playing baseball were the two things that we all were into.
What age is this now? How old were you when Ed Sullivan, when Beatles were on?
I think 11.
Okay, so
10.
that was around the time you two guys met.
It was months before we met. Just it was the end of the school year before we met. Yeah.
Yeah. It
So
was
did you immediately realize that you two had an affinity for music and maybe you wanted to play some?
Well, it was we both were on the new baseball. We both moved in the 6th grade. So then they put us on a baseball team with a bunch of 5th graders because it was so popular. There was already 2 teams. So we were both on that team with another guy. And then our mothers said, we're talking, and they said, well, Ron's into the guitar and Steve's into the guitar. So our mothers had us have a guitar date, I guess you'd call it. So we lived in the same neighborhood, went to the same school, little Fulton Elementary. We do have a photo of the baseball team. We're going to release it at some point.
I was going to say, yeah. Which album booklet is that going to be in? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got to make another record now, don't we? I guess.
As I recall, some guy named Mickey something was from Commerce, Oklahoma. Was he?
That's
a hero
right,
here?
Mickey Mantle.
Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
New York Yankees. Roger
I
Maris.
went to his baseball camp for several years.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, you went to baseball? So did I, actually, for one summer.
Ah, yeah. I think
so you guys met in 6th grade, and your mom's got you together via guitar. I mean, we've talked to so many guests on this show, and with 99% of the aha moment was when the Beatles hit Ed Sullivan, which I was just slightly. I mean, I kind of have a recollection, but I was just slightly too young to have any real recollection. But to have been there and seen that live on TV, and to have it change your life like it has changed so many people's lives, and send them down a direction that enabled them to write and record and play and do that kind of thing, to me is just I'm ever so slightly jealous that I was just a couple years away from being able to have that aha moment. So I mean that's a very cool thing, and then to bond over it. So I'm assuming then the rest of the 60s, you guys are just bonding over some of the greatest music that ever came across radio waves. And how much fun was that? Were you playing stuff for each other all the time? Or were you buying vinyl at the time? What was what was really turning you on through the 60s? Yeah.
Yeah, there was a department store sort of a precursor to Walmart called Ertley's, and they had a record department, and it was probably the close. Well, correct me, but it's probably the closest. And I remember going there with my mother while she's getting groceries and just staring at those records and hoping to save up enough bucks to buy the "She Loves You" single, or just whatever the new thing was.
Yeah.
Hey, and Ron and I could do this if you want us to. I just happen to have a guitar nearby. We wrote a song. Our first song we wrote, maybe 6th grade, was called "Girlfriend."
Let's hear. Oh, we'd love to.
Yeah, play it.
Right.
Let me see if one of these guitars over here is in tune.
Oh, how great is this? Yeah,
it's
nice.
A minor,
an exclusive here.
I still like this song. We have not ever done anything with it. We played it at one gig once, I think, right?
Wow. So this is the first song Steve and Ron wrote together.
Here's my A minor. Woo-hoo.
I'll just play one.
Let's go with it. You gonna sing with me, Ron?
You betcha.
Okay, now am I the high harmony?
Take it.
Or maybe we do a duo in the same note. I don't know.
Girlfriend of mine. Oh, girlfriend, won't go away.
We're in different times.
Oh.
For 3
I thought it was going so well.
I think It actually was going well from what we're hearing, but I think
Okay.
you might be hearing each other lagged off, which will
We're
throw you
lagged
off.
out, but let's just go till the first chorus, through the first.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Still
2,
love it.
3, 4. Girlfriend of mine.
Mine, oh girlfriend, don't go away. Girlfriend of mine, oh girlfriend, want you to stay. Love
Love you, girl, all night and day. Goodbye, Ron. Girlfriend, please don't go away.
The connection got overwhelmed.
That was too good. That was too good. There's
I'll
Ron. Ron
tell
came
you,
back.
I mean,
what you
that
think,
song
Steve?
sounds like that song. It with it, you know, in its minor key. I assume sounds a lot like the
Throws it
kind
up,
of
I
stuff
think.
you would find on garage music comps.
Right?
Yeah, like the minor, you know, the folky garage sound. It was really good.
Tom checking in. Ace 2 right there. You heard it right there. The very first 2020 precursor, 2020 Ron. And
Well, I've lost the
it's-
audio, my friends.
that's all right. We'll
We
catch
hear
back
you.
up with you, Ron. That's Girlfriend.
Girlfriends coming out soon.
Yeah, it should be a
Why
super
not? My
bonus
gosh.
track or something.
I think that's got to be on the CD that includes that baseball picture. So you see, we got a whole thing. We haven't even talked about the new release coming out in January. We already got a new release after that. So that's good stuff.
Now,
Thank you.
did you guys form a band together before you or did you play with other people first and then come together later?
No, I think we just started like trying to play together, and we were both really. Well, Ron wasn't as shy and nervous as I was, but we finally made it to play the 8th grade talent show. And I think we did. Are you still with us, Ron?
No, his mic is off. I can see.
Yeah, you muted your mic, Ron. If you could unmute the mic.
Oh, yeah, I can see that too.
Yeah.
But we, come on back, Ron. We played.
He can probably hear us. Yeah.
Trying to remember what we played, but we played it. We didn't win, but I think it was Last Time by the Stones.
Right.
And, Money.
There.
So I told him, Ron, we played the Showcase junior high. Oh, you're still your audio.
Yeah, Ron. Maybe you want to go completely back out and come back in. It might reset your muted mic, but we'll keep talking till you pop back in.
I guess when it was a battle of the bands back in those days, was it typical for a band to play a cover, or did they sometimes come out with originals?
Mainly bands played covers, and in fact, we have a story. Oh my God! So I don't know what grade this was. 9th grade, maybe. What is this? Okay, I should read this. Oh, hey, Sean. Oh, let me change that. Can you read that?
Yeah, my wife Ann Deck and I got to meet Steve and his wife Saturday night at 3rd and Lindsley, Long Players Tribute to Cheap Trick at Budokan. Such a blast. They're both such huge 2020 fans, and cheers.
You know, of course, the Long Players is a thing that Bill Lloyd puts together. Bill was Bill was a guest of ours a few months ago.
Sure,
I think we got Ron back.
20th anniversary. Are you back, Ron?
Yeah, I think so.
There we go.
Told him about the Showcase gig we did with Last Time and Money, and we had a 5-piece band, 2 guitars, bass, drums, keyboard, and our name was the Recount 4.
That works. Was the 4 an IV or numeral?
Yeah.
Fun with numbers.
I think one of the greatest band names of all time I ever heard of was the Uncalled Four, which was they had 4 and just the 4. That was a great New York band, I think, at the time. The Uncalled 4, great stuff. But
Ron, I was about to tell him the worst Battle of the Band story, where they.
Oh God. I know
we had everything plugged into 2 little amps, and it was a big place, and the other band had just killed with big PA, and they were older, and they had strobe light section of the show, and then we came on, and we did People Are Strange by the Doors. And then and I think you broke a bass string or something. And we attempted to play one more, and then the guy said, "Get off the stage."
Oh man.
And we still kept trying to do this. Can you believe it? And we have a new album out. So
You had a keyboard player at the time?
yeah, a guy that played organ, and he got a little too into LSD, I think, coming up.
And
Remember that guy?
Our parents drove us to that gig.
Yes. And we sat there, and then they went home, I think, and came back.
Right.
And we sat in the corner with our gear.
Defeated.
After they told you to get off and get done, you just sat there waiting.
And the other band did another set. And they were great. And,
People loved them. They were good.
They had costumes. They had everything, man.
Nice. Well,
their name?
No, it's like being a stand-up comedian. You know, you can bomb like heck, but as soon as you get that first gig that goes really, really well, then you're right back at it. You know. Yeah, absolutely.
So in the early 70s, are you playing consistently? And is Vietnam, is that like an albatross hanging over your head?
We went to college, so
okay.
And then they came up with the lottery. Remember that day?
Oh, vividly, yeah.
Ooh. I got 200s, and you got.
Yeah, I was in the low 300s, but I was Steve and I both were in dorms at Oklahoma State, and you could walk around the dorm and you could tell who got a bad number because they were taken up to 100, and if they drafted you, you were gone. That's.
Oh yeah. God, I can't imagine how nerve-wracking that must have been.
We just did, our friend got 5 or 8 or something.
Oh my God.
But he told him he was crazy, and he was.
Oh, yeah. He really was.
They didn't want him.
People tried, from what I read, people tried everything to convince the draft board that they were nuts. So
I talked to Dwight Twilley about it. He was a couple years older, and he did it with the weight. Like found out if he got skinny enough and his height, they wouldn't take him. And he went on a bus ride to like Oklahoma City.
Right.
And he said when he got there, they had a bunch of fried chicken that they could smell. And he said it was the hardest thing he ever did. And he just stayed below
the weight limit.
He got out. And then Dwight Twilley band.
Can you imagine Dwight in the Army? I mean, that's
no. Not to speak ill of Dwight at all. He's a really nice guy.
Dwight.
He was our guest on Material Issues, and it was a bit of a train wreck. Let's put it this way: Jan was standing behind him, feeding him answers to every question.
Bless her heart.
Yeah. No, but I mean, again, as you said, could you imagine there not having been a Dwight Twilley band?
No.
Steve Hudson checked in. Yes, Steve Hudson checked in. Said I was friends with David Dage in Austin during the 80s. What role did he play in Tulsa before Ron and Steve went to California?
Well, David was a drummer that played with us in Stillwater. And then, and David played with a very good friend of mine, Larry Seaman, was Standing Waves. We brought Dave when we might have gone through a drummer or two, and we brought David out to audition for the drum chair. And David had never been on an airplane before. So he gets off the airplane and he's wandering around the terminal and he throws his return ticket away because he didn't realize that his return ticket was inside there. And he was a great guy, a great kid. And I think he went on to his reward a little while ago.
Oh, really?
He did, yeah.
All right. R.I.P.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to pay a little tribute to the man.
David
Very nice.
Dage. Great guy.
He was
When does Dwight Twilley start playing in a band with you, or if I'm not mistaken, he did, right?
No, no. I mean, we had never heard of him. He went to Edison High School, So we went to Nathan Hale. So, you know, we didn't, and they didn't play out very much. I think they were recording. They were smart. They took photos and recorded. They were way ahead of the game. But, and then when they came out and that song it was just so powerful, man.
Oh, I'm on fire. Yeah.
Yeah. I was on the jukebox at Bill's Italian Pizza in Stillwater.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend knew them from high school. She went to Edison, and and then they were on American Bandstand the next week.
Yeah.
Blew my mind. That's probably how we ended up doing this, right?
Well, you think about the radio landscape at that time.
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody doing what Dwight did.
No.
And when he came,
No.
well, maybe the Flaming Groovies were doing it, but they didn't have the success that Dwight.
They didn't have a hit single. No.
And
No.
when that album Sincerely came out, man, we wore it out. And they were from Tulsa, and it was like a license. If they can do it, and we had been playing every dump teen club, and we were playing 3-2 bars. Once we got to Stillwater, we played all the time, and these guys were having this success with this record. And it was a good record, though. I mean, that single was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, indeed. And so let you know, I've got a couple of friends from Tulsa, and they always tell me, especially from that the time in the scene, but how big is Tulsa, or was Tulsa at the time, and were you running into other musicians that had any kind of impact, like Dwight did, Phil Seymour, obviously,
Leon Russell, maybe? Did you know him?
Leon Russell? Yeah.
Well, we didn't. We knew about him, but we wanted to meet him, didn't we?
Yeah.
And actually, but we went straight from high school to OSU Stillwater, so we didn't live in Tulsa anymore. And but I did, through my old girlfriend, college girlfriend, I did meet Phil, and I met him. This is so funny. He had like this rock and roll little jacket on, and he had literally a paper sack full of marijuana.
Wow.
That I think he had someone is one of his drummer friends had found it.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like really weak weed, so he would just constantly smoke. And I thought, oh, that's how you do it, you know? Yeah.
That's how you.
But that's how we first met him, and you know, and we ended up working with him, you know, in 2020 a little bit.
But it was Dwight's success that sort of galvanized you and got you to say, you know what, as you said, if he can do it, so can we. And that was the impetus for you to go out to LA?
Yeah, we had to try. It was just, Ron actually, I left a little earlier, but Ron actually got a degree. I know your parents loved you for that. And,
what's your degree in?
Music.
Oh,
there you
nice.
go.
There you go.
Insurance.
I would looking back.
So you got, what was that conversation like, though? I mean, you just decided that if we're going to do this, we gotta go to LA.
I think everybody knew. Everybody from Grapes of Wrath on goes to California,
Right?
And so I left in my little red Rambler with basically just blind ambition, you know, blind faith that something would happen. And then as soon as Ron graduated, he and like 7 other Okies, something like that.
Bunch. Yeah.
And I was already hooked up with someone that had already graduated in Hollywood, our friend KK. But I was worried, Ron. I don't know if I told you to say you and Pat Garrett were going to form a band together, because you were talking about it. And I was like, then what am I supposed to do? And then you said, hey, why don't we form a band together? And it was like, whoo.
I'm not sure I believe any of that.
Well, that's true, man. But so then we started writing and working at it as soon as we got there, and doing shitty jobs to stay alive, and learning how to drive in LA.
How do you end up meeting Greg Shaw?
There was before Ron got out there was a bump day, some kind of bump thing at their store in the Valley or Burbank or wherever. And I had become friends with Billy Zoom before X.
Oh.
So he said, hey, you want to go to this bop thing with him and his girlfriend, Kitra? And so I went with them to this thing, and I met Gary Speraza,
Yeah.
and all these, people from Buffalo, and Mike Gallo, and a lot of people.
See, it's just amazing. Again, the stories of like, listen, we gotta go west. We gotta pack up. We gotta go to LA. And then, as you said, I'd met Billy Zoom pre-X. I mean, who meets Billy Zoom pre-X and then goes to Bomp Records and then it's all this.
Sounds weird, doesn't it?
It does sound
also
weird.
Organic, and it doesn't happen like that anymore.
No, well, it doesn't happen like that anymore, but some of the people we've interviewed on this show, that's exactly how it happened. They just threw caution to the wind. They were going to do their laundry, and they looked on the bulletin board and it said, need a guitar player. And they end up calling the phone number because they were in this place at this time with that phone number, meeting these people, and it turned into this. And it's just so much serendipity, and it's so much just going for broke. And if it happened, it happened, and if it didn't, it didn't. But the stories of how it happened so organic and simply, from just wanting to do it, it's just amazing,
Well, do you guys still have the recycler? Because that was like a big paper in LA.
I don't think we do, and if we do, it's probably like a 4-page thing right now.
Right, but at the time it was this big thing.
Oh yeah.
So that's how I knew about Billy Zoom, because he would put an ad in that said Zoom Music with his number, and then finally my friend KK said, "Why don't you call this number?" Because I didn't have anything going, so I started hanging out, and we would jam in his garage.
Steve, tell him about where you were living.
Oh, at the Villa Elaine, which was right on. Do you remember it?
I remember it very well.
But it was on
Vine,
and then it was not far from Hollywood and Vine.
right, just below Hollywood, yeah.
Near the Capitol Records building, yeah.
It was further down, but yes.
You could see it from there, yeah.
It was very bizarre old Hollywood that had decayed into into what it was.
Right.
They came out,
you and Keith shared one room.
We shared one room.
That's how you got by.
A little kitchen and a bathroom, and we didn't give a fuck,
No, when you're that young and you've got this goal in mind, you got stars in your eyes. Yeah, you don't care about stuff like that.
Well, like KK ended up being a good Oscar-nominated production designer.
Wow.
So he did like the brain of John Malkovich and a lot of movies. So he was chasing his dream too,
Well, and as David said, it doesn't happen that way. Go ahead. I was just saying, it doesn't happen that way that much anymore today that we hear about. But at that time in the 70s, like that, just organically making that jump, and everybody was trying to do their thing because it was happening. You could make these connections, you could play these places, you could do your thing. We kind of miss that in the world today, Well,
that was the only way you could do it.
I mean, the only way you could do it.
We didn't have the internet. We didn't have a way to connect.
Exactly. Yeah, you had to do it that way.
It's like Seinfeld said, when the stuff came out, I don't know, on one of the Netflix, excuse me, this show wouldn't exist with cell phones today.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They don't just show up in the apartment.
Right.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
When I was going to ask, so when you met Greg, did you have at that point? Did you have a tape of some demos to give him, like Giving It All and whatever else?
I was working on that, but it wasn't finished, or maybe soon after it was. Tell me, Ron.
Yeah, I think you had it in the can. You may not have had something to play, hand him at that moment, but Ripley had done the mix and it was finished. The audio was finished, as I recall.
Yeah, but eventually, we had already started 2020 when I think when I did finally play it, and he wanted to put it out as a single. Yeah.
And why the name 2020?
That was Mike Gallo knew that would be a great name, and it was. I think he already booked us as 2020. So we had no choice. But
Oh,
we
Mike
just
was
weren't-
booking your shows. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just think
he had
I
a
knew he
vision.
came up with the name. So
I've sent. I didn't know this at the time, but apparently he had a complete vision about how it would sound, how we would look, what the band would be. You know, in essence, maybe not the particulars, you know, like the songs and stuff, but he had this idea that he had apparently had for quite a while, and I guess he applied it to us, I think.
And how about the just the look of the front cover of that first album, which is kind of like a, I don't know, I call it kind of a hazy green kind of filter look. Whose idea graphically what was 2020 in that album cover?
I think it was Mike's.
I think it was Mike and Herbie Worthington.
Herbie Worthington, the guy that did the Fleetwood Mac albums.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But Mike had a lot to do with that too.
And how did you get your deal with Portrait, which is I mean, that's just a phenomenal thing to be signed to a major label.
How did we do that, Ron?
Well, you know, we were playing at this place called Madame Wong's down in Chinatown, and we played there one night. We had a pretty good night. You might say it was a star-studded night in some sense. There was a writer for the Los Angeles Times, Christine McKenna.
Yeah.
She was there, and it all just sort of happened. She wrote I don't know, looking back on it, it seemed like a pretty big article, complete with picture, in the calendar section, which was the Sunday entertainment section. Mike worked in the mailroom at a big law firm, and I think we just went down there, and Mike got us an appointment with a junior associate, David Altschul. David Altschul, is that right?
Yeah,
I think that's right. And David, he's a great attorney, and that law firm represented a lot of people on CBS. Streisand, Neil Diamond, Bruce Springsteen. Wow. They had some currency, and he shopped our songs around, and he got us interest from just about every major label. And he was real instrumental in protecting us too. We didn't have the kind of horrible record deal that so many other people you hear about, you know. But I think that it was Mike's connection there that got us in to see him. Wow. Steve, does any of that sound right?
Some of it.
It sounds good to me.
We bought it. I mean,
all right, great.
I do remember Greg Shaw wanted us to put out an album like early on. He said, "You got to move now. You got to put it out now." We're like, "No, we want to hang on and keep writing." And I remember we auditioned for different labels, and we met with A&M, and so we were starting to meet with people. And I think Mike worked at CBS.
Well, see, there you go.
But other than that,
so how long does it take you to write the album?
I mean, we were whatever songs we had. Some of them ended up on the bump, like "Going Up with My Girl," a song we had, "Drive," "Screaming." Right. We had a bunch of songs that didn't make the album. But we really started playing live. Once we started playing live, then the songs, it was so great because then the songs can morph a little bit to a tighter version. And you kind of, let's leave that one out and do this other one. So it was so great to be able to have a band playing and you're writing for it, you know, for the next gig, you know. So when Ron wrote Remember the Lightning, we were playing it.
Oh yeah.
In the next gig, you know.
Oh, I mean, and that first album, I mean, all the albums, but that first album coming out of the gates, it is just, you know, chock full of every great song that's going to sound. I mean, I didn't see it live, but it had to have been killer live. It had to have been just a killer album to play live, to hear live, to experience it at that time. Just great song. I mean, she's an obsession. I love I love that drum breaking down. just killer. Yeah.
Man, well, we want to play again. We're going to play again so you can come see us, Mark.
That's right. All right. So let's get it going on, and then you'll come over here to the East Coast, and then you'll fly over to the Cavern in Liverpool. And
that's
do
right. IPO Liverpool at the end of May next year.
Oh, it is the end of May?
Full backline, two shows for everybody, once at the Cavern Club, once at the Cavern Pub. I'll tell you this much. I don't know anybody in the 20 years I've done this. I can't think of one band who said, I wish we didn't do it after they did. So,
hey, Ron, what are you doing in May?
There you go.
Well, there you go.
I don't know if you've read everything about the Cavern, but you are in the presence of someone who does have a brick on the Cavern wall now with Mr. David Bash. It's right there, right above Steven Van Zandt.
Yeah, right next to Clem Burke. You can't see it. You can only see the E in his name, and right above Steven Van Zandt. Yeah.
All right.
To honor me and IPO after 20 years of bringing bands to the Cavern, they decided to give me that brick on the Wall of Fame.
Wow.
And I'll never get an honor like that ever again in my life.
Yeah, pretty fantastic. What a surprise. But I mean, 20 years of doing shows at the Cavern. I mean, very deserving honor. So there you go.
You have the invitation. Hopefully you guys can make it, especially you guys who will be revered over there because we have people coming from all over the world to play the festival and even to watch it. So you would have, a great fan base already. And you'd be able to sell merch because everybody does.
Well, I hope it happens then.
There you go. There you go.
You know what? We should, because I know we still have some time, but this seems like a good segue to play a few things from the album, from the new album called Back to California. Before I do, please let us know how. Was the name inspired by your initial trip to LA, or is this something that you're trying to say, ultimately we'll get back there?
Well, the song Back to California came about after Steve and I got some shows booked at the Roxy Theater in April of 2020. Then we all know what happened in the music biz in April of 2020. So Steve and I kind of started working on that song, and then after the record had taken shape, it seemed like a good way to encapsulate it as either looking back or returning or a message of hope. We can all go. We can go home again. We can go to the place where dreams come true. If not to get poetic about it, but I think that maybe that's part of what it was.
Well, being poetic is what songs are all about in the first place. So this is
the new album coming out in January 2025. But
this is the current single, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
it is.
All right, so it seems like that should be. It's also the first track on the record, so it seems like a good place to start. All right, coming up right now from the new album, Back to California 2020, with the title track, Back to California.
Canyon is a lonely place. It can leave you on your own. And when the poet falls and creeps, he's a long way from his home. Everybody here wants to get high. So tell him you're a deputy. Some flowers in your hair.
looks like you're enjoying it.
Or a cashier in a restaurant. Get from there to here. But everybody wants to burn it down.
Did you see that other request for?
But everybody wants to burn turn it down.
No.
So let me know you're on your way. Give me a date and time. You're coming back to California.
Looks like the Drake circuit stage. No. Keyboard and bass.
Just roll. Nice.
Might be of the winter year.
Yeah, I played there
Cold
last night.
and early
Got to
frost.
leave my kids set up.
Just meet me at the mission, dear. Find what has been lost. We can feel the magic once again. We can feel the magic once again. So,
Who's drumming,
know
Steve?
you're on your way. Give me a date and time. You're coming back
Got a good kick
to
to it.
California. Even if
Tell
you
him you said that, you
lose
like
your way, tell him you're a friend of mine. And you're coming back to California.
Yeah, it took 7 or 8. My mom was driving me over to Texas in a Volkswagen. And she'd sit out there, just, I don't know, read the Bible or doing whatever. And I was down in the basement of the music department.
Let me know you're on your way.
There you go.
Give me a date.
I didn't know you had your guitars arrayed like that. That's right.
But you're coming back to California. Even if you lose your
Great.
way, tell them you're a friend of mine. And you're coming back to California.
I hope that came off. Probably not.
Coming back, coming back,
That's a long
coming
song.
back to California. Coming back, coming back, coming back
Take
to
that half of it.
California.
Yeah, I really think this was the best choice for the leadoff single because it's probably the most power pop thing on the album. I mean, most of the album is a little bit more laid back in a sense. I mean, the harmonies, of course, are there and the melodies, but not so much heavy guitar as there is on this. That's just a great track.
Thanks, David. I hope you like it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
David DeRenard says loves the new song, but please play SoCal after March 2nd. He had tickets to the Roxy gig, but he'll be in Africa mid-February. And he can't miss you guys again, damn it. A gig at Pappy and Harriet's would be even sweeter. Thank you, David.
Looks like it's time for IPO Africa in mid-February.
Well, we won't play that. We will play after March 2nd. So he's good.
Well, yeah, there's the other question. So the album's going to be released in January. Are you thinking of playing out behind this at all?
Yeah. We want to play LA in April, and we've started talking to someone that can book the Roxy, but it could be the Whiskey. I mean, I hope it's the Roxy or somewhere. But to be honest,
there are definitely a lot of choices.
Okay. And we want to play in Texas at Austin. And then we'd like to play the East Coast. We'd like to go to Liverpool. We'd really like to go to Spain.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you did.
We also, by the way, do Copenhagen and Stockholm in the succeeding week.
Wow.
After Liverpool, we do those. It's not as big. They're not as big as IPO Liverpool, but great cities, really cool venues. It's just, it's been a lot of fun for us for sure.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, we can get your tour completely set from the East Coast over to Liverpool, Copenhagen, Stockholm, you guys have a blast, and you'd kill in Spain too. Spain is such a great, such a great pop country there. Madrid, especially, with some of the great venues there. Tom's like, come to Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah,
You
Get
got
you.
it, Tom.
Yeah, Lisa Michaels, consider playing Virginia if you come to the East Coast. So yeah, of course, that's the whole Virginia connection there, Lisa and Tom. Yeah.
Now, guys, how did you get in touch or connected with Spider Pop? Was that through Bill Lloyd?
I think I first heard of them through Bill Lloyd, and here in Nashville, I met everybody, Vic and Lanny and Danny and Alan. So we met them, but then we were looking around to see how we could. So it's great, I think, with Big Stir and them working in conjunction.
Yeah, no, they're all very good people.
Yeah, good people, great label, and
Alan Pecci is one of the most generous people I know. I mean, he's sponsored IPO in Arlington. We didn't get to do it this year, unfortunately, but the 3 prior years we did, and he had us stay over at his home/studio.
Oh,
And,
yeah, we're supposed to visit there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Absolutely. So yeah, for sure. I'm sure you'll be able to play up in Arlington for them. They'll probably do a showcase for you of some sort.
Right.
And Paul Collins speaks so highly about playing in Spain, and I've never been to Europe, so I've always wanted to wait till I could go there. The music would take me there. I don't know why it makes a difference, but I think it would be great to get to do that.
Well, of all people, he would be the great connection to tell you where to go, where to play. He's so loved there, and Spain's just one of those countries that they just love live music. They know the history of great pop bands and rock and roll, especially wherever you come from over Europe, but here in the U.S. And that would virtually be just a guaranteed great time wherever you went to play there. Pack places.
Yeah, I mean, just organize a European tour around IPO Liverpool, and you'll be good. You'll be golden.
It's as easy as that. We just gave you the.
So, how much fun was it for you guys to play on American Bandstand?
It was pretty great.
It was unreal.
Yeah, well, take us through that just kind of briefly. I mean, how do you get that call, and then what's that like walking into the setup to play on American Bandstand? And what was how was Dick Clark to you guys?
Oh,
I thought he was great. There was a lot happening in the world at that particular point. We had some success with radio, with the first record, and so what you do is you drive into Burbank Studios, right, and you park on the lot and you go in. First they put you in makeup, and that's when Mr. Clark, God rest his soul, comes in and he talks to you a little bit. He has some canned questions, and then you go out onto the set, and it's the set. It's just kind of, it has a romanticism to it, and you don't actually play live. It's a
right.
lip sync thing, and it goes by. In my experience, I don't know if Steve feels this way, but it went by just like that. Like it's like we got there, and the next thing you know, we're out in the parking lot taking pictures around his Rolls Royce.
Oh wow!
And then Steve should tell you about the time when we actually watched ourselves on American Bandstand.
You
Right.
want to hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but before you get into that story, can I ask you a quick follow up to this though? Did you practice lip syncing before going there?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I've always been fascinated with the fact that I know they lip synced it just because the way TV was at the time, but sometimes you see some really bad lip syncing jobs on those programs. So I just wondered whether you knew going in you're going to lip sync it, but whether you said we need to rehearse this a couple of times and make sure we don't look stupid. Yeah,
we probably should have.
Probably.
we
I
had
have no idea how you got. I don't know how you musicians do that. If I had to lip sync, you can bet I would screw up every 10 seconds. But I don't
we
know how
probably
you do
were
it.
actually singing, like we were using
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we were.
Yeah.
I know we were singing it.
Yeah.
So, but they picked none of that up. But we knew the tunes pretty well.
Yeah.
Well,
I
We
used
had
to-
that part wired.
I used to love to watch some of these old Beatle videos where they were actually, playing to the track, and you'd watch Ringo, and he was 6 inches above the hi-hat and not even bringing the stick down onto the snare,
Yeah.
just so he wasn't making any studio noise whatsoever while everything was being lip synced to, which is kind of funny to me too. Then of course you see some bands on Bandstand that purposely just tried to look really stupid because they didn't want to look like they were lip syncing. So the drummer was obviously doing just goofy stuff just for having fun. But that's got to be a neat experience. But as you said, it happened really fast. In and out in the parking lot, and now onto your story about watching yourself.
Well, it was the days before there were videos,
Yep.
and so you had no way to see it except watching it live with everybody else. And we had a gig in, I think, Santa Barbara or Northern California. So Ron and I were driving up the 5 freeway, and we were like, okay, well, we'll just stop at a bar and go in at 11, whatever time it was on, 11:50 or something. And but then we realized, no, they might be watching sports. They don't want us to change the channel. So then we saw the sign for a hospital.
Oh my God.
Maybe it's Santa Barbara Hospital. I don't even know. But and so we parked and ran in, and we're running down by people's rooms where they have little TVs in their rooms, patients. And we're like, well, we can't do that. But we knew it was coming up like minutes, like 1 minute away. So we go into the lobby. There was a lot of sad people, and the TV was way up high. And so Ron, who's 6'4", just goes up and changes the channel, and there is his face.
Wow.
So he was singing "Remember the Lightning," and everybody there just went, "What the fuck?" 'Cause there was no video. You didn't see yourself like today, but so we watched it all, and then he went like that, and we took off.
That had to be surreal for everybody.
Yeah.
What an awesome story. Oh, fantastic.
So the first album actually does pretty well. Unlike a lot of power pop bands, you guys managed to make it to 138 on the top 200 on Billboard, which is not bad. Certainly good enough to get another album on Portrait. So take us through the recording of Look Out, because that album sounds a little bit more 80s than 2020. It does have some of your most classic tracks, but it's a little bit different. Was that by design or just sort of happened?
Well,
Ron.
maybe a little bit of both. There was a fluid situation with CBS. We went from Portrait to Epic, I think. We had different A&R staff. I'm not sure what led us to start looking for a different producer. It could be that Earl wasn't available, or that we had different thoughts about it. We definitely had different sounding songs, and we had some experience. Then we got connected with Richie and Bill, and I think that might have been through Phil, or maybe it was the other way around. I'm not sure about that. But Richie Podler and Bill Cooper had a recording studio in the Valley, American Recorders, and they had made a lot of hit records there. I mean, a bunch of hit records, and I think that was part of the attraction. And then they liked our songs. We did a song called "Strange Side of Love" with them, and turned that over to the new A&R folks. They liked it. Deal was made, and away we went.
It took much longer.
It did. Richie Podler had a very his way of production was his way of production, and that's kind of why the record sounds the way it does.
Yeah, I had a chance to meet him in the late '90s when I think Dwight Twillie's "Lucky" album, I think, was was one he worked on, and I was invited to come to his house to hear it for the first time. It hadn't been out yet, and Rocky Burnett was there, who's not in good health now, unfortunately, but he was a guest of ours a little while ago. A very nice guy, and it's funny when you were mentioning Dwight earlier, saying nobody was doing anything like him. A few years later comes Rocky Burnett with,
Right.
His sound is not all that different.
Yeah.
Great song, great record, that one.
Towing the line, yeah.
Let's go back to the new album. I know we're kind of jagged here, but that's how it goes. So I listened to it and I love everything, but let me play one here, another California type track called Laurel Canyon. Did you guys live in Laurel Canyon at any point, or just visit there, or just admire it?
I wish we would have. I think the rent got real high there or something. So
yeah.
But to go up to the country store and look at that view and the whole bit, man, I love it.
Yeah, I do too. All right, so here we go. Track number 6 on the upcoming album, Back to California by 2020. Here we have Laurel Canyon.
I gotta check on something.
When the sun is rising, I'll be pulling at the drive from dusty Oklahoma to the western paradise. I'll make the quest to Laurel Canyon. Always revolution in the air. And barefoot girls dance on the corner. You can find me there. Winding round the high roads, looking for a place to land. I'm just another dreamer, and it's time to take a stand. We'll start the band in Laurel Canyon.
Hey, Steve, did you
So meet me at the country store.
Okay.
The sound of strings drift in the distance.
Okay.
We can make it there.
Hopefully it's somewhere close.
Can you guys hear us?
We can make it there.
We both
Is that
have to go.
great sound in this track? Great sound.
No winter winds in Laurel Canyon. Night moon and jasmine fills the air. And barefoot girls sing on the corner. We can make it there. We can make it there.
Absolutely lovely track.
Man, that is well produced, well put together. That's really good.
Ron, is Ray your son?
He is.
I thought so. What was that like having him play in the band now? That must be just. I mean, I can't even put it into words.
It was wonderful. I often during the sessions I would look over at him and I would think back to when he was, I think maybe 5th grade, when I bought him his first drum set, and he loved it. He had a lot of energy, you know, as a little kid, and he put on all these records that you just wouldn't think of kids playing along to. Certainly the Beatles, the Stones, the band. He loves Levon Helm. He's got this really rich musical tapestry that came from, well, I don't know. Might have come from his parents a little bit, but it was great. And the other thing about it is that I was so glad that it worked out, because if it hadn't worked out, I'd be the villain with another drummer, and that kind of villainy would not have played at home at all. So his mother would not have appreciated it. But it worked out. And Steve was very encouraging with him, and my son Ray has always loved his Uncle Steve. So
Ray was stellar. He was stellar. We were trying to figure out what we were doing. But
yeah,
Ray
he had it wired.
But he was okay.
Which leads me to another question, Steve. You know, when you were obviously early on, when you were writing songs, you were in the same vicinity, but now you're in Austin. Steve's in Nashville and Ron's in Austin. What's your process like? How different is it than what it was back in the day?
Well, I mean, I think we always usually one of us would have a song going and get together. So we did. I would fly to Austin. I think I was out there 4 or 5 times, and some of it, a lot of it was recording, but we work really fast together. Like I might have a bit of the song, and Ron will go, "Well, this other part is your melody," and you know, we would put it together super fast. So there was a lot of that, and we write independently, but then we both help each other out.
Well, guys, I know you've got to get going here shortly. You were talking about briefly while we were playing some tracks there, but I mean, fantastic to have you on the show, and the new album coming out, Back to California 2020, coming out on Spider Pop in January at some point in time. CD and Big Stir as well. In conjunction with Big Stir, CD and vinyl, I heard.
Yes, yeah.
CD and vinyl.
Yeah, they don't have the vinyl yet at Big Stir, or else I would have been holding that up.
Yeah, they're at Spider Pop in Texas. So
they're
en route.
Well, we love Alan and Victor, and everybody associated with Spider Pop, and big shout out to Lanny Flowers. He's been Lanny's been improving slowly.
Hope he's feeling better.
He's getting there.
Hope John's feeling better.
Here it is, back to California, coming out in a couple of months. We'll play one more song as we say goodbye. This is one that Mark and I both kind of agree on. King of the Whole Wide World, definitely a big favorite.
Oh, great!
And we'll play that. And thank you guys so much for
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I hope you have a great show tonight, Ron, and Steve. I hope to see you guys in May in Liverpool, if not before.
Okay,
that sounds great.
We hope to run into you, of course, somewhere in this big wide world. It'd be fantastic to say hello in person. But thank you again for being on Material Issues. You're hearing some tracks here for the first time, everybody. The brand new album, Back to California by 2020, coming out on Spider Pop. In conjunction with Big Stir in January. We're going to play a great song right now. And guys, if you got to take off, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. Material Issues with Ron Flynt and Steve Allen. Boom. Love it.
Here we go. We got King of the Whole Wide World for you.
All right, fellas. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye, Steve. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
I heard it on TV, sitting on my blue suede couch. said to Johnny, with tears in her eyes, you're the king of my whole wide world. And only love can keep us together. Only love can break your heart. Only love can make me feel like I'm the king of the whole wide world. King of the whole wide world.
I love your show too, Lisa.
Thanks, Tom.
Looking out the window in my front yard, the green, green gold of spring.
So easy when the music's so good.
I'm waiting on my baby to come back to me. I'm the king of the whole wide world. And only love can keep us together. Only love can break your heart. Only love can make me feel like I'm the king of the whole wide world. King of the whole wide world. King of the whole wide world.
Man,
I love that chord at the end, even though it's not the same one as what ends Baby Blue. It just kind of reminds me of it.
reminds
Just
you
the
of
way
that,
it-
yeah.
Just the way it's just kind of so shiny and right there by itself.
Well, everybody, if you were listening, thank you, Tom. If you were listening tonight, you heard two tracks that you won't hear anywhere else right now. We had some exclusive tonight from 2020. Back to California was a single was released, but the last two, Laurel Canyon and The King of the Whole Wide World, nobody's heard that yet. So right here on Material Issues 2020.
Yeah,
Back
it's
to
a
California.
it's a really good record, and
Yeah.
everybody out there should buy it. If anybody deserves the financial remuneration, it's 2020 and Spider Pop and Big Stir. They're all great, just the greatest people.
There you go. Can you get Cheap Trick to play in addition to 2020?
I don't know that I could get either of them for Chicago, although it would certainly be nice to have 2020 in Chicago. I will be having conversations with Alan Pecci at Spider Pop. You can be sure of that. Maybe they can, maybe they can help facilitate a tour. I mean, the Spider Pop gang under, Lanny Flowers Band and Danny Wilkerson and the Penguins have played IPO in a few of our European cities. So they know what it's all about. And it's been a while since they've been back. So maybe they can come back and bring 2020 along with them. Who knows? I mean, I always have stars in my eyes. So, and I figure if you don't ask, if you don't try to facilitate, then it doesn't happen. So I wanted to put it right out there right away.
I love it.
We'll certainly see what happens. But so look out for the record. Not long after the beginning of 2025. So we've got a couple of guests coming up that are very cool. One of them just sort of happened organically, as they say. A few days ago, a woman named Lori Kay did a friend request for me on Facebook. I noticed that we had several friends in common. So I checked out her page and I saw that she was an author, and she has a book that has come out and is doing very, very well called Confessions of a Rock and Roll Name Dropper. She actually interviewed John and Yoko only a few hours before John got shot.
Yeah.
She actually did have an encounter with Mark
David Chapman.
David Chapman beforehand. And so she'll the book goes into that as well as everything leading up to it. She was on a really popular radio station in San Francisco for a while. She's interviewed a lot of cool people. And so the book's available on Amazon. But next week we will have her on to talk about that. And I love when things work out that way. I mean, this has got to be she's got to have some cool stories. I mean, can you imagine having interviewed them only for, you interview them, you figure it's just, it's another interview in a long line of ones that he's done. And then you find out, well, it's the last one he's ever going to do.
Amazing. Amazing to interview them, period. You know, but
John was always very, very approachable. And, Yoko generally went along with it. She loved him. Yeah. So, well, speaking of which, I should probably just mention briefly that coming out on Friday is the new Beatles box of vinyl, which contains all the Beatles albums that were released in the U.S. in 1964. Most of us who grew up in the U.S., that's how we remember those records, even if we bought them much later. I mean, I didn't start collecting records until the mid-'70s.
Yeah.
But, when I first went to the stores to buy Beatles albums, I had no idea about With the Beatles or Beatles for Sale or Please Please Me or any of that. I just knew about the American albums, Meet the Beatles, second album, Something New, Beatles 65, the early Beatles, Hard Day's Night soundtrack. And I knew about the Beatles story. I have to admit, I never bought it. But you'll get it along with everything else that came out in 64 from the original master mono tapes. I haven't had a chance to listen yet. I just got it last night. But the records, it's 180 gram vinyl. The covers, the whole thing looks really, really good. I love
cool.
Each record has an original capital sleeve in it. Well, I mean, a reproduction of an original sleeve.
Yeah.
And of course, they're on the labels that, the reproductions of the rainbow label and everything. Very, very cool. So I'll be writing a review of that in a few days. So look out. Most people who watch this probably already know, but look out for that on Friday on release date. And cool. so that's what we have. So we've got to Lori K on the 27th. December 4th at this point is an open date.
December 4th. Yeah, December 4th is open. You're right.
On the 11th, we've got somebody very cool that you got.
Yeah, I tell you, coming up on the 11th, it's one of those bands that just, when I heard it, it stuck with me. And if you're going to ask me my top 20 favorite albums or bands of all time, I'm probably going to sneak this guy in this band in there, just because of time and the place and how good this psych pop album was, which was very DIY in his bedroom with a 4-track recorder. But Rick Corcoran of the Orgone Box is going to be on Material Issues. He's got a new single that just came out. They'll be followed up with some more tracks he's going to release and then into an album in the new year. He'll talk to us about that. But I'll tell you, Judy Over the Rainbow, still one of my all-time fave tracks, period.
That is a very classic late 90s. I think it was late 90s, right?
Late 90s,
pop psych track. Yeah, we were fortunate enough in IPO Liverpool to have the Orgone Box play one.
And I was there.
And I was at yep. That's why I was there. I know Rick doesn't do a lot of interviews, so this is a very cool thing. And we're so glad to hear that he has a record, a new album coming out. Wow. Yeah,
that's going to be cool. So that's December 11th. Rick Corcoran of the Orgone Box. So we're firing up with some more cool things. And as we said, we never know what's going to happen from week to week and who we're going to get. So pay attention to materialissues.com. We'll send out an email on a Monday or Tuesday right before the show, letting you know what's happening. But if you subscribe to us on YouTube or if you follow us on the Facebook page, we'll drop a little note saying we got this person or this band group coming up. and we hope you hang out with us because we just enjoy talking with all of our friends that come in here and hang out. And tonight's show is one of those classic ones with 2020. I mean,
I love it. You know, it's great when people, you know, when you interview people, and our interviews are somewhat different than, you know, we're sort of combination fanboys, journalists, collectors, whatever you want to call us. So we'll ask them some stuff that they generally don't get. Thanks so much, Lisa. Lisa Michaels was one of our earliest guests. In fact, I remember I was having trouble at that time with the connection because I had some old equipment. And in order to do that show along with Mark and Lisa, I had to do it from my car with my iPhone. I remember. Thank you so much,
Tim. Yeah, good stuff. So
everyone, you know, have a great rest of your week and weekend, and really come back next week for Lori K, because I have a feeling that this is going to be a very intriguing story.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be the night before Thanksgiving. So, everybody will be off from work on Thanksgiving. So that night before, you can hang out with us, have a little beer, cocktail, whatever, and listen to it's going to prove to be a fascinating story from Laurie Kay and her book, Confessions of a Rock and Roll Name Dropper. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. And we'll see everybody next Wednesday, materialissues.com.
We will. And John Borak, if you're listening right now, get better soon. We're thinking about you.
Very, very, very much so. Have a great night, everybody. David, love to Rena.
Love to Chaz. And to Leah, who's coming in.
Leah's coming in this weekend. Going to see my daughter. So awesome. Great. See everybody. Good night.